Hi there, everyone. My name is Christian Eschbach, and welcome to another one of my album reviews. In today's episode, we are going to cover the long overdue Halestorm. I've seen Halestorm live once. I caught them a couple years ago, touring on their own in London, Ontario. Great show, magnificent. The seats I had were fantastic. The people I were with, one person wasn't happy exactly with the sound with where we were at because we were sitting technically behind the PA system, so we were actually hearing the band live on the stage. And as such, I can tell you Halestorm sounds like they do on here. Liz Hale's voice is not manufactured. She hits all those notes, sings all the songs exactly like she does on this album. It was magnificent. That woman is going to, that woman, the band in general, okay, I give Liz Hale all the credit for the band, unfortunately, and it's partially because the whole, chicks and rock and roll's a new thing, and, I'm not saying chicks and rock and roll's a new thing, but someone like Liz Hale comes along so rarely. The only person there's only two other people in music, in the rock side of music or related to the rock side of music, that I would compare Liz Hale to, and that is Ann Wilson of Heart, and that is not a fair comparison to either one of them. The range, yes, for sure. The songs, the brilliance of their performance, for sure, so much on par. But there's a certain little roughness to Liz's voice that Ann doesn't have. Otherwise, they're both magnificent. The power, the gravitas that they have. The other person would be Tina Turner. And Tina Turner, I would actually say, singing wise, is maybe a little more closer to Liz because it's a little raw. Ann Wilson has a beautiful voice, so she can go either way. She can either belt it out with the best of them, rock and roll style, like on Crazy With You or Barracuda, or she can go nice and soft and folksy, either way. So to me, Tina Turner's the better comparison, but still, Liz Hale is her own beast. Let me tell you, that woman, when she's a guitarist. First and foremost, she is a guitarist. And she plays leads and rhythms, okay? I've watched her live. There's a trade off back and forth. She's magnificent. And the voice, I mean, it's her voice is just spectacular, really. And that's what it is. There is no voice out there like hers. I mean, I like the Pretty Reckless, and I think Taylor Momsen has a great voice herself. But Liz Hale, she is the savior of rock and roll with her voice. Truly is, in my opinion. That's just the way it is. But anyways, let's get into the actual album here. So, like I said, the album is Vicious. Picked this up right before I went to go see her. I was really lucky. It came out right before that point. I was so happy. I was, just living this album before I went to see her. Shout out to my buddy Pat, who was there at the concert with us, and then I was also there with my other friend Denisa. Shout out to her as well, because she's the one that provided the tickets for it. It was a great concert to go to. I was really happy that she asked me to go. So anyways, the album opens up with Black Vultures. Great way to open up the album. Little effect on the voice, not a lot, just a little to give that kind of airy, circling vulture kind of feel, because black vultures circling around, so that's the line being, and then it just kicks into the song, and this song is heavy, and I don't mean like hard rock kind of heavy. I mean, this song is heavy. It comes thundering down, like comparable, I want to say, Metallica's Reload album. Like, just there's a certain thundering boom, hammering to it where it's hard and heavy and just giving it, and just great opener. From there we go into Skulls. I really like Skulls. Skulls is a little compared to Black Vultures. Skulls is different because Skulls almost has, I want to say, like an electronic kind of vibe to it. And if you listen, Liz Hale or Halestorm, sorry, puts out these great reanimation albums, cover albums, and you can see they take a variety of influences from everywhere, from electronic music, a lot of obviously hard rock, heavy metal, stuff like that. But there's no one specific genre, you know. Like they've done covers of Lady Gaga, Bad Romance, if I remember. Yeah, Bad Romance. Which I've karaokeed the Hailstorm version of it with my buddy Sean. So you know, it's a great song, their version of it. Um, I they've also covered some Daft Punk, you know, so they do a little of everything, you know, grunge, metal, hard rock, you know. And Skulls kind of explores that more electronic element, but I really like this one because it's got a little bit of a different vibe compared to, you know, the usual shtick. After that, we go into Uncomfortable, which is one of those songs where I've mentioned it before, you know, when I'm not listening to the album, it kind of slips. It's great when the album's going, but it just kind of slips on its own. Same with the next song, Buzz. Same thing there. And that takes us to Do Not Disturb. Do Not Disturb. Oh, one of the things, one of the true secrets to being a great, successful rock and roll band, okay, is you have to follow one of two criteria. The first one is either drugs, sex, rock and roll, which is what you find in a lot of the party bands, you know, like your Motley Crue's, AC/DC, Nickelback to a small degree, Kiss, and then you go the other way where you've got the Alice Cooper, the shock rock, kind of the more metal mentality where it's death, sex, rock and roll. Or sorry, death, sex, and money. Sorry, my apologies, not death, sex, and rock and roll. So with Liz and with Hailstorm here in particular, uh, obviously you can tell by the cover they're playing more the death, sex, and money aspect of it, which is great. Um, you know, sex is definitely a big thing in rock and roll, and I love the fact that with the song "Do Not Disturb," it the song reeks of sex, but it's not her say, you know, it's not her being like that Cardi B WAP bullshit, okay? It's not that let me go gyrate on a pole for entertainment bullshit, okay? It is legitimate true blue. Like Do Not Disturb is, I want to say, almost the modern version of You Shook Me All Night Long. AC/DC's You Shook Me All Night Long. You know, a male or a female could do You Shook Me All Night Long, and it really doesn't make a huge difference. Do Not Disturb, it's a great unisex, gritty, dark, everything that is supposed to be the gnarly, dirty, dark, nasty side of rock and roll. You know what I'm saying? And that's what Do Not Disturb is. And it's a good tune that way. Um, After that, we go into Conflicted. I like Conflicted. Conflicted is a little bit cool. Conflicted is a little less on the. It's still got that heavy side to it, but Conflicted feels a little more poppy-ish, sort of. I want to say Veruca Salt. If you're familiar with the 90s act Veruca Salt, that would be a little more where I want to go with Conflicted. Sort of. Not quite. You know, heavier than Veruca Salt was, though. But that kind of element to it. Then we hit Killing Ourselves to Live. Oh, Killing Ourselves to Live is magnificent. When she busted this one out live, I'm pretty sure she busted this one out live. Fantastic. Just this is one of those great songs where, you know, nowadays it'll be the cell phones, but in the old days the lighters would be up, you know. You could just see the arms up with the lighters going and stuff like that. Fantastic. And just the whole message and everything behind this song and the music behind it and everything like that. It's just this great grand arena rock kind of song, and it's honestly magnificent. I could not stress how much the way she hits it home. The band hits it home on this one. Heart of Novocaine. Heart of Novocaine's a little softer, a little mellower. I like I like the song. I do enjoy it. It's really good while the album's going. I like how she's talking about having the heart of Novocaine, and how kind of cold and loveless. I want to say almost. It hits all those right notes, but it's not a ballad. Like it's slower, but it's not a power ballads like I always like to complain about. From there, we kick it right back up when we go into Painkiller. Okay, so this is not a cover. I know I've mentioned how they do covers. This is not a cover of Judas Priest Painkiller. This is her own song Painkiller, not even comparable in the slightest. Although just as badass. Oh my god. Totally, totally, totally badass. I just absolutely love the way that they do this song and how heavy it is. And it's just boom, man. It's one of those songs you can't help but love. Then we get to White Dress, and it's gone out of my head. I don't think of it if the album's not playing. That goes into Vicious. I have a little bit of a. I like the way they ended this album, but at the same time, I wish they had maybe flipped songs. Um, the album finishes with Vicious and then The Silence. The Silence is a really good way to close out the album, but going from Vicious to The Silence kind of doesn't give it the send off I'd want to give it, because it goes really, really heavy and kind of mellowed out at the end, and not the right kind of mellow out. Both the songs are fantastic. Both songs really have this great energy to them. The whole way around, I have not, aside from maybe the first two albums, I don't have everything from Halestorm. I have almost everything. I skipped the first album for sure, the first official album for sure, because I didn't particularly care for a lot of the music on it. It wasn't until they got away from trying to sound like the other female music acts and started sounding like themselves that I really started to enjoy Halestorm. But I think that Killing Ourselves to Live should have ended the album. I think it would have been a much stronger ending. And going from Vicious to The Silence to Killing Ourselves to Live, I think would have been a more stronger dramatic ending for the album. But otherwise, I'm not going to complain. Along the way here, I haven't brought out the book to really look at. I'll be honest, I don't think I've looked at the book at all since I picked up the album. And it's a shame too, because they go clever with the artwork in here. They do the lyrics, but they do them in a clever way, and I really dig that. In its own way, similar to multitudes of other bands that have been out there. There's certain elements in here where I could say it's Guns N' Roses' Lies, for example, is what I'm kind of thinking of. But I know the Rolling Stones have done similar things before. And it's cool. I like the fact that they put the lyrics in here, and I like that they dressed it up. And even though it's just black and white, which keeps it simple for printing purposes and keeps costs down for printing purposes, it still gives it some character and some class. Now, the band does consist of Liz Hale, which is listed as vocals, guitar, piano, and synths. R.J. Hale, which is drums and vocals, and that's also her brother. Joseph Hottinger, who is lead guitar, vocals, synths, and astral whip. And Josh Smith, who is bass, piano, vocals, and synths. Now, when I saw them live, I only recall, I believe it was either, I think it was Josh was the only one I recall seeing play synths, which would be the bassist. I could be wrong. Maybe it was the guitarist. I'll be honest, because of our positioning, my whole time, I was watching Liz because Liz has got an incredible ass. And I was, pictures, the way I was positioned, I had no choice but to stare at her amazing tush, you know. And they make this great joke about Captain America being America's ass. Well, Liz Hale is rock and roll's great ass. Sorry, I don't mean to objectify but with Liz Hale, I'm going to objectify in this particular case because the woman's got legs and an ass that are just fucking amazing. Okay, she really does, just absolutely stellar, and she deserves kudos and props for that, because those are like the most minimal parts about her. Like the second she starts singing, I just automatically am mesmerized by her vocals. And honestly, I would love to work with Liz on every level as a musician. She is just, her voice is spectacular. If I were to go out and put another band together today, or rebirth my band, I want a female vocalist that can sing like Liz Hale. That's the thing right there, because she's got a rock and roll voice. She's got this amazing rock and roll voice. She is up there. I mean, honestly, talent wise, she's up there with, in my opinion, Robert Plant. She is up there with Ronnie James Dio. She is up there with Bruce Dickinson. But she's also got this Brian Johnson-esque rasp to it that just makes it that much cooler. Like, she has got the voice of rock and roll. And the band itself is just spectacular. I've watched them live. The drummer, oh my God, when you listen to the album and then you actually watch him playing live, the albums don't do him justice. He is a spectacular drummer. Absolutely fantastic. And like I said, the guitars, you don't know who's doing the leads at what times because they are honestly trading off. And, the bass is the bass. Right? Yeah, it's the bassist, man. Fantastic. You should definitely, if you've never picked up Halestorm, this is a great album to start with and work your way backwards. It really is. I highly recommend it. I've raved on and on and on. Women, girls, Liz is the reason why you get into rock and roll, okay? Damn. Hell yeah. And it's not about, the beauty of this is and I'm going to point this out, because before I go into my wrap up here, if you watched my last review for the Pretty Reckless, you'll hear how I kind of complained about Taylor Momsen and how much she over-sexualizes herself. You look at this, yes, you can say Liz is being sexualized here, but if you look at a lot of the hands that are on her, they're male and female hands. And yes, you can see that, she's got some side boob and some under boob going on in the picture and stuff like that. But the album's called Vicious. And, it's, if you listen to the whole thing about it, and how the whole album with Every Which Way is getting pulled on it, this is no more sexual than Stone's albums, okay? This is, but she's not selling sex here. She's selling rock and roll. This is the dirty, gnarly side of rock and roll. Whereas with Taylor Momsen, she prettied it up. It's not she's selling the dirty side of rock and roll. She's selling pretty sexuality. You know what I mean? So, anyways, that's my take on it. The difference. And, just the back cover if I haven't shown that yet. So, at this point, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe to get notifications when new videos come out. Otherwise, peace, love, and take care.